You're listening to DraftKings Network.
This is the Dan Batard Show with the Stugotz podcast.
The only time that Greg Cote smiled during that is when his own face came up on the screen. You guys skip all the intros on all the shows, do you not? All of the shows that you watch that allow you the ability to just skip past the intro, you skip it.
Not when it's a brand new one and we're trying to drive subbies over to youtube.com/@LeBatard Show. Dan.
I'm not asking what your habits are with this particular
Well, we also
intro.
don't give people the option to skip our intro. So,
But when you get the option of skipping the intro after you've seen it on any of your favorite shows the first time, you don't watch the Succession intro again, do you?
That bangs. Occasionally I'm like, I remember this theme. It bangs.
I've been getting a lot of contact over the last couple of days that is some form of this, and I'd like to cover it because I don't know how the decisions get made around here on who to send to Germany. I would assume that it's a trip everybody wants to make, and I would assume that it is a reward for work well done because we only have a couple of spots for things like this. And what I've been getting from a lot of people who are watching our Germany coverage is a lot of saluting of Juju, and a lot of the show has to address how lit Chris Cote was at the game. And I just heard before the show that Chris Cote made what sounds like several phone calls and FaceTimes to the States that he doesn't remember making, that he has no recollection of. What are you shaking your head about, Billy? If you were on assignment, you wouldn't you wouldn't drink giant drafts of beer before the game that would affect your coverage and your ability to do your job?
no, Chris and Juju killed it.
I thought that's what, the fan experience. We were in the seats. I wasn't drinking in the press box.
I think part of it is, like, what was the actual assignment? You know what I mean? Like, that's...
Cover the Dolphins.
Well,
be Chris in Germany and watch the Dolphins game.
Yep.
But was that the assignment? Was be Chris in Germany?
What should I have done?
I don't know. I don't know what the assignment was.
One of those calls was made to me. He FaceTimed me and does not remember our entire
that had
conversation.
to be Friday night because the only night I really got after it, quote unquote, was the first night.
Yeah.
I had a couple nights before the game, and I don't remember doing that, if I'm being honest.
Did the size of the beers catch you off guard?
Well, there was beers, bratwurst, tequila. They have tequila in Germany.
You think that was only in Miami?
And you shouldn't drink the tequila after the beer. Your father is a veteran beer drinker. I would say in my life, I know...
Beer before liquor, Dan. Never been sicker. How about that?
It's a good line.
Sorry. You were saying?
It just was a little delayed. Let me tell you a story about what happened with Stugotz yesterday, just so that you see where he is on the delays of life.
Put a bookmark there, though, because you were saying something. You were about to tell a story.
I was going to talk.
Something was happening.
Welcome to my Tuesday experience where the...
Liquor before beer in the clear. How about that?
Red next to black, friend of Jack. That's if you see a snake.
Tell him.
So Stugotz yesterday, this is a thing that actually happened as the entitlement around here creeps to unprecedented proportions where Chris Cote thinks we sent him to Germany to drink beer.
Did you send me there to ask a question in the press conference?
Well, you were credentialed, so
no,
presumably.
I'm asking you what I thought our show with the personalities.
You drink beer, yes.
I go there, I have
One in
fun,
Frankfurt.
we document it. And
The bar, so to speak, no pun intended, the bar is very low. The bar is just, can you exceed? When you make a phone call, you remember it.
well, that was an off hours. That wasn't like a content phone call.
It was 1 a.m. his time.
Yeah,
I mean,
Friendly call.
I don't know why I would be calling Stugotz at 1 a.m. Germany. I don't know. Maybe I met a fan and they were like, hey, I love Stugotz. I don't remember.
I asked Chris, are you okay? And he said, yes, I'm fine because you're the one I would call if I was kidnapped.
Like if I was kidnapped, hey, Stugotz, I need help.
Well, but if you're calling him, then that wouldn't reassure him. He'd think you were kidnapped.
Right.
They'd be terrible kidnappers if they let him FaceTime someone.
Well, honestly, what would you do? If Chris called you and was like, I'm kidnapped, you'd be the perfect person to call because you'd be like, I got it, buddy. And then you'd forget about it.
I think if you're in jail, I'm the perfect person to call. Well, no, I'm not. I'm never the perfect person to call. Dan is the guy to call.
You got to call Dan.
Yeah, you got to call Dan.
Money bags.
But I don't want to paint this picture incorrectly. I was the only drinking I did during like business hours was during the game. I was not like when we were.
But that's a problem.
No, but like
Probably the most
you're gonna
important
see
job.
a video.
Covering the game, Chris.
Look, guys, we went around 2 days before the game doing content. You're gonna see that video. I think today, maybe tomorrow.
Maybe, whatever.
And
maybe,
I wasn't getting.
Maybe we'll see it today, tomorrow, whenever. Maybe. I've learned with the NBA All-Star Game and other things. Sometimes things just vanish and don't actually appear.
It was honestly nice to be somewhere where content is expected and not need to, because usually I'm the one. It's like jazz hands. Give Chris the microphone. He'll go. Juju's a bleeping star. So I got to sit back and like produce Juju because everyone flocks to him, and the content is there. I go there thinking we need to make good content. I'm not sitting there saying it needs to be the Chris show. So I thought we did great stuff. Juju rocked it.
But first, a little drinky poo.
Well, you got to get one beer to like just get the edge off, right?
You also-
it's hard to go up to people man on the street style. If you want to like be outgoing, you got to have a beer just to get the edge off.
Yeah.
You also are wearing a Dolphins jersey while you're credentialed, which is not.
That's called party in the front, fan ready to go whenever you need it.
That's not what it's called.
Professionalism in the front. That's
But
what it is.
professionalism's not wearing the Dolphins jersey ever.
Yeah, but if you have your jacket zipped all the way up, Billy, and it's tucked in, they can't see the.
There's also
Dolphins
different
jersey.
rules in Germany.
Yeah.
Right.
Without any self-awareness and without a smile on his face. This actually happened with Stugotz yesterday. Billy, you will appreciate this.
Didn't think we were coming back to this.
As you have read, as you have reached the halfway point on God Bless Football, driving you totally insane.
We had a call yesterday, Dan. Let me hear your story first, because things change minute to minute with this guy.
No, go ahead. Let me hear about the call. I will not forget about my story, nor will I forget about how I generally felt when Stugotz said this to me. Again, not smiling, not laughing, just totally serious.
Well, so we had a call where we're trying to plan out the week, and Stugotz has an obligation on Thursday, so that cuts out Thursday from our potential recording days for the show. Because God Bless Football, we tape throughout the week because it's impossible to get all the people we get on at 6 a.m. on Friday when we publish it. So we have to kind of, we go to Austin Eckler when Austin Eckler has time. So we go to these people throughout the week as they can. So we have a conversation like, we'll take it light this week. We'll have Golick, Sims, Eckler, and we're going to tape with Marcus Spears. So spoiler alert, Marcus Spears will join us. We're like, okay, it'll be an easier week. We'll do that, right? And then we hang up the phone, and 3 hours later, things have changed, and Spagnola's in play, and we're talking to some coach from some team.
Yeah, Spags.
And then it's like, hey, I'm going to reach out to Jimmy Johnson, see if you can get the boat captain on, and maybe we follow up with Nitro again this week and the fantasy guy. And what we agreed to being a lighter week, which still isn't light because it's like 6 interviews, has now turned into potentially 13, and it's all, can you see if they can do tomorrow or the next day? And it's like, well, no. They can't do tomorrow or the next day. We need to plan this out.
Might have Kirby Smart. I mean,
What? But
we'll see. I mean,
let's have this conversation.
Coin toss.
We agreed that you can't do Thursday. When do you think that we're going to have time to do all of these things that we said, let's just, if we only have 2 days, we're going to kind of.
It's a fair point.
Yeah.
Line them up.
I'm sorry. Right.
All 13 guys or women in order.
Yep.
Do them one at a time.
Thank you.
On your clock.
Yes. You throw out a bunch of requests. Saban, by the way, also might be in play. Just let you know, Billy, and maybe Lane Kiffin. But you throw out,
I forgot Lane. Yeah, Lane is involved.
You throw out a bunch of requests, and you get a couple. That's the game. It's a numbers game.
Sure. And you give them a specific time slot.
Yeah.
K Smart.
Yep.
You're between 5 p.m. and
Bingo.
5:05.
Yep.
That's when you're here.
You get it.
Yeah.
Yep.
But Kirby Smart's not waiting around for us to say we have 5 minutes for you at this exact 5 minutes.
Why not?
Because
this is Greg. Greg Cote. Greg Cote does believe that the world lives to serve at his every whim. So too does Stugotz, which leads me to my story where this will be revealed.
Before we get there, I need a favor. Jimmy Johnson. You have a great relation with him. Billy can explain what happened. What do you mean, no?
I'm not making a request for Jimmy Johnson to join
listen,
you guys so
this
that
is easy.
No, not going to do it.
I need you to get Captain Lee into the fishing tournament. That's it. Jimmy would love Captain Lee. In fact, I'm guessing Jimmy does love Captain Lee, and we need to get Captain Lee into Jimmy's fishing tournament. We do.
He was 4-0-1, Dan.
He was. Yeah.
How's Billy's Big Bet brought to you by?
Oh, Billy's Bets Big Board brought to you by, still unsponsored, Feldman. I don't know what you're up to. But 10-2 the last 5 weeks. incredible. I had jury duty in the middle, so 1 week we didn't make picks, but 10-2, yeah.
Right.
7-1 the last 3 weeks, 3-0 yesterday.
Man.
I'm on fire. I'm only I think 14-9-1 because I started off very slowly. That Aaron Rodgers injury did not do me any favors. And then, as you remember, I don't even remember who the player was that lost 4 yards on a run and then ended up costing me that bet earlier in the season. Oh, brutal.
Hey guys, it's Tony. US Cellular is introducing US Mode. It's like airplane mode, but for people. You got that? Cool. It's a way to set up your phone so it doesn't get in the way of people really being with each other. Block distractions and make way for a real connection. Give it a try. Visit US Cellular in-store or online, and they'll help set up your phone to US Mode. For free. Really, for free. Even if you're not a customer, they'll still do it. That's how good US Cellular is. Built for superior 5G connection and real human connection. US Cellular. Built for us. Find out more at uscellular.com/findus.
Don Le Batard.
Cody decides to give his opinions on things right when we're coming back. He started yammering about, don't you hate the phrase controlling your own destiny? Destiny can't be controlled.
Right. It's an oxymoron.
Stugotz.
I fully thought you were going to go in with take the oxy out of it. That's what you are. I didn't say it. I'm saying that's something that Dan would say.
I see. Okay. Yeah.
I love you. You didn't say I love you back. You're mad at me. Oh, no.
That is, put it on the poll, Guillermo. Does Stugotz throw out I love yous only to get I love yous back?
Greg, I love you.
I love you.
Okay. Feel better now.
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugotz.
Aaron Rodgers made a big show yesterday of coming into the stadium on no crutches and taking 3 step drops and throwing the ball 55 yards.
It's incredible. Nobody should be able to do that 54 days after an Achilles surgery. I'm sorry.
He's making a big show of it in a way that's just wonderful. It really is just going as if he couldn't throw on any other field. He can't throw privately. He's got to go onto that field and throw the ball 55 yards on Monday Night Football. It's the only reason to watch Monday Night Football involving the Jets.
Little J.J. Watt. I mean,
He's going to be playing football this year. It's
crazy.
Which it defies logic, and it probably defies better thinking on the matter. And we'll see what kind of quarterback he is with that injury. But the Jets said at their trade deadline, Joe Douglas went to the microphone and said the reason why they didn't make a move is they expect him back this year. He tells Derwin James after the game at midfield, give me a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
This is, for Aaron Rodgers, if he comes back, something that does defy medicine. He is at the forefront of something that is different, and I think that's what's the motivation here. That and getting back to his team, obviously, but that we've never. This used to be a death sentence,
yes.
The Achilles, and for his career, it still might be because he still has to perform, and we'll see what that looks like. But the thought that you would tear your Achilles in week 1 and come back in the regular season, that's not a medical world we've ever lived in.
He's doing it all for the cameras. That has to. I guarantee he gets back under the stadium, he's like crying, sobbing in pain. It's hurting so much. You see him do. He's very gingerly doing it. He's doing it just so people are like, "Oh my God, could he do this?" He's not going to be back in time.
Would you guys come back behind that offensive line? Because I would not.
No.
Like, people are getting on Zach Wilson. I'm sorry, it's not Zach's fault. He has no time.
It's a win for him if he suits up and takes another snap this season. Yeah. That's a big FU to the, in his eyes, to science and the medical community and the doubters and the haters out there. Look, I did something that no one's ever done.
I mean, it kind of is, though, right? It is a big FU to somebody who is like, all right, I'm going to put crystals and dolphin sex noises, and I'm going to come back like nobody's ever come back before.
Well, again, he has to perform because if he goes out there and looks washed, it's going to be a problem. But the fact that he's out there, that in itself is a dub in his mind.
Mike is already moving the goalposts. Like, he's not. It's not only that he has to come back; he's got to come back and perform.
Well, I'm saying
be good.
That's a fair thing to say to me. But also, I think part of the reason why someone doesn't come back is because they would play like crap. Right. Yeah, like, I guess I could be out there in week 16, but I'd be a total shell and I'd risk re-injury. Like, that still looms over this, but it's a fair thing to shoot in my face, like, oh, he's just moving the goalposts on him. The reason why people don't come back at that time, maybe they feel the same way that Aaron Rodgers feels right now, is just they can't do the same things. And from the dude that's walking gingerly and taking steps, to think that would be an effective quarterback a month from now, that doesn't make sense to me.
I don't know why he would come back prematurely. And it would be, if he comes back in the next couple of weeks, it's science-defying. It's ridiculous in a way. And his likelihood of re-injuring himself and ending his career is greater than if he is a normal person and tries to come back at the beginning of next season. It's just there's no great upside to him coming back. The Jets aren't going anywhere. They've got a pretty good defense and a horrific offense, and I don't know if he alone coming back from an Achilles changes all that overnight.
Is it crazy to wonder if he never actually tore his Achilles?
Not at all. No.
Like, what if
Not
he
at
just,
all.
because is a doctor going to come out and say he's a liar? I mean, there is
has
benefit
occurred.
on a war on medicine. There's benefit here in saying, you know what?
That is
We
a
saw it
great
snap.
theory. We need to know.
We saw it
No,
snap.
it
No,
looked like it.
I mean, I've seen people get shot in
no,
movies
no,
that don't
no,
actually get
AI.
shot.
You don't know.
No, you wear a prosthetic thing, someone
You
pushes,
guys.
I
I don't know what's real on the internet anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know what's real.
What if?
No,
We're just asking. I'm not even saying I believe that. I'm just.
CGI. I'm ready
It's
to
a fair
make-
question.
I wish I was wearing some sort of costume. I'd be willing to seriously put out the conspiracy theory.
Mankind's available if you want it.
Better than the theory that Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce is a propaganda concoction by the NFL to drive ratings. To throw out the conspiracy theory that Aaron Rodgers, since he went into the darkness retreat, all he found in the darkness is I must come back hell-bent on beating science.
Well, hold on a second. Dan.
And so what?
It goes deeper than that. It goes deeper than that. So he was away. He was on the wellness retreat, right?
Darkness.
Darkness retreat. He starts concocting things, scheming, if you will. I wouldn't, but if you will, scheming. And he says, you know what? I need someone with some integrity, someone with some hoof to get behind this with me. Let me reach out to Adam Schefter. And then I will tell him what's going on, and then I will publicly have a falling out with him in which I tell him to lose my number. Ooh, I love that. And then week
love that,
one
by the way.
happens, and we're wearing the prosthetic or whatever it may be on the leg. Someone does the thing that makes the action that you can see in slow-mo.
Prosthetic.
Then you go to, whoever, Dr. McGillicuddy or whatever. I don't know what he was up to that day. And then you say, what, Shefty? Now's the time. Code green. And then he goes and he puts out the tweet, confirmed, torn Achilles. It's out there.
So
and
hold
then
on.
he goes on vacation to Germany or wherever it is that he had that thing done to his leg. And then he talks about the Dolphins, which he just spent the time. Because that was also in the darkness retreat. He said, what's the most ridiculous thing that I can say that people will believe because they think that I'm crazy? Man's an evil genius. And then he says, I could just say that Dolphins having sex will fix my Achilles, and then I'll, take off some time. I'm not going to risk actual injury while I'm there playing for the Jets, the AFC East, because I had some time to think. Maybe not as tough as everyone's predicting it's going to be. I could see the Dolphins
It's going to
losing
be
a
a
couple
mini.
games
It'll be
here and
like
there.
it'll feel like a mini holdout against they're not allowing my request of I wanted partial ownership
Correct.
in the team when I came over there, and so I'm just going to protest by taking their money, sitting out. And I disagree with Mike. I don't think he has to perform. He just has to perform better than Zach Wilson.
Well, that's not hard.
And right now, that he may be a better option.
And if he performs better than Zach Wilson, he's heroic for getting out there and giving them hope and trying and beating medicine. All he's got to do is more than 6 points a game.
You made me evolve my take on this, both you and Tony. You're right, because Peyton Manning won a second Super Bowl not being good. And it's a huge part of his legacy, and he'll always be reflected on kindly by Broncos fans. So, yeah, you're right, and that's not a high bar that he needs to clear.
And he has lowered expectations to the lowest place that they possibly could have been after he started, because the season looked like it was ruined as soon as he faked that Achilles injury.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
No doubt.
Right.
It's
Good
a
choice of
hamstring.
words, yep.
I think I'm going to surprise you given my recent takes on Aaron Rodgers. After talking this out,
Hammy.
It is.
after talking this out with you, I'm rooting for him to do it. I'm rooting because it'd be pretty rad. It'd be
Save the
comeback
day?
it'd
Yeah.
be, he'd somehow win comeback player of the year, and the previous dude died. Like the previous favorite died on the field and came back. And I think you'd still have to give comeback player of the year to Aaron Rodgers.
Stugotz, do you know what from yesterday I'm going to call you out on. Do you have any idea? Because you came in here battered. The traveling is hurting you more at this age. I'm guessing Chris Cote felt some of this. You eat a lot of bratwurst. You fly 10 hours. You sit in the plane and you come back and your hips are broken. You're not as young as you used to be.
Yeah.
So you come in here on Monday, and I would say that you're somewhere between discombobulated and disoriented.
Yeah.
You
Sounds
land,
about right.
You land. You
That's
don't
my
know.
space.
You don't know totally where you are. You do God bless football, and then 90 minutes in, you're exhausted because of your weekend.
Mm-hmm.
But he turns to me yesterday. This is a real thing that happened, where I just recapped for him some of the things that he missed all weekend, doing other things that weren't paying attention to sports because he's got the priority of being a champion with his daughter and being a father.
Yeah.
And so what he says to me after I recap 4 or 5 stories from the weekend that he had missed is he says, we should do that all the time.
Oh, yeah. It was great. Great segment. Weekly feature. I mean,
And my response is, should we? Should. So the show I do for everybody, I should do for just you. The show that we do together.
just a segment. That's a
great idea.
Well, you
Thank
didn't say just a segment. You wanted to do it all show. You wanted Mondays to be, I do a little show for you called Here's Me Doing Stugotz's Work for Him on paying attention to anything so he can do his job correctly on Monday.
What's wrong with that? I mean, we're teammates. You help each other out. I
You
mean,
should. It should be like a little Reader's Digest version of the entire show.
Thank you, Greg.
In synopsis form.
Yes.
Easily digestible.
Yep.
It should be a daily feature.
let me-
very helpful,
Let
Dan.
me give you some stuff from last night that you may have missed
Okay.
from the
We're
Miami
doing it again,
from
a
the
daily
Miami
feature.
from the Miami Heat game last night in mascot news, because this is always what you need whenever it is that you have mascots in play. Tony, for some reason, and Mike Wilbon are anti-mascot. It makes me respect them both less than I would otherwise. And Burnie, the Heat's mascot, is one of the finest mascots. He stays out of trouble. He doesn't make a lot of mistakes. But last night he was on stilts, and look at what happened.
All right, we're walking on stilts right now, and we ate it. I love that. Only one person gets up to help him.
Stilts are harder than you think they are, correct? Stilts.
I think I have a proper amount of respect for stilts and how hard they are.
Oh, he got up. He's all right, though.
Oh, wow.
I think stilts are probably harder. Put it on the poll, please, Juju, at Lebatard Show. Is walking on stilts harder than you think it is?
Ridiculous.
What's ridiculous?
I mean, why is he on stilts? What was the bit?
It's a mascot.
I mean, being on stilts is the bit. The bit is, I think the bit is always on stilts, just the being on stilts.
Yeah, because he doesn't look funny enough in his crazy getup.
It's not well thought out. You'd think they put him on stilts to just walk straight a few steps. They have him like going like diagonal, like through a section.
right. Him falling saved the bit, though, right?
That's some real Monday morning mascotting you're doing here as a stilt expert on what they
It's just
should
like,
have
hey,
done.
Burnie,
Yeah,
we need you to cut through this section here and then do the thing where you're like, you're walking, you're not trying to step on people's feet.
It's Tuesday morning.
Sorry, yes.
It's a fun.
It's a
Feels
still
like Monday to me.
morning quarterback, though. It's still, I don't think it's ever a Tuesday morning quarterback.
Never.
On the result-based critic. From last night, I will say another thing that becomes very difficult, Stugotz, at the sports trough where everybody's giving their opinions, more opinions than there's ever been. I want you all to be thinking about the different opinion that you're allowed to give off of last night's game beyond this one. Holy shit, LeBron, you're still doing it like that? Like what? I want
And Anthony Davis is still getting hurt.
But I want the take after that when you're watching LeBron, oldest player in the league, and still totally unstoppable and still efficient, although less efficient from three, and still someone you fear. The end of that game was terrible. The Heat have a terrible stretch coming up, 17 road games out of 19, and they don't look good. And last night, the last 5 minutes of games this season has been a problem where they're coughing up these leads at home against teams that aren't particularly good. But what is the take on LeBron that you're allowed to have today beyond like, holy shit, how is this possible? And also he's 2-7 in Miami since he left. Every time he comes down here, he loses. And this time he was nostalgic, talking about what a great organization it is.
Come on, he's just trying to secure a vote for Vegas.
It's better for the LeBron brand that Anthony Davis is as injured as often as he is. If Anthony Davis was who we all thought he was and had taken over this team and LeBron was a clear number 2, I feel like we'd all be not... Like I think Anthony Davis is being always injured just builds up this narrative even more for LeBron. It makes him look even better than as great as he is at 39. Anthony Davis not being able to play just makes it even better.
I just can't have someone as just a window dressing on a statement talking about a basketball player saying, even though he's 39, like it's that
oldest player in the league
doesn't compute. It doesn't make any sense.
You're saying death sentence for Aaron Rodgers off of an Achilles. That's what that's supposed to be.
Historically.
That quarterback that age cannot come back and be successful after that injury. 39, LeBron is still kind of LeBron. Like, I can't even say LeBron's the second best player on his team. I want to, but he's not. He's the best player on his team.
When you watch him go up for these massive, powerful dunks, you could see maybe some athleticism diminish in terms of like his explosion off the ground, but he had enough to spare, clearly. At
he
39.
had 3 blocks.
Yeah, that image of him stealing the ball from Durant was pretty wild.
Backing down Josh Richardson like he's a child. This episode of the Dan Le Batard Show with Stugotz is brought to you by KFC's new hot and spicy wings. Get fired up this fantasy season with 8 pieces of spicy, marinated, hand-breaded wings for just $4.99. Are you kidding me? They're a can't-miss call for whatever the fantasy gods throw your way. In the midst of a managerial hot streak, keep it rolling with KFC's new hot and spicy wings. Did you just assemble the worst lineup in fantasy history? Who cares? You can get 8 KFC new hot and spicy wings for $4.99 right now. Marinated in spice, hand-breaded to perfection. KFC's new hot and spicy wings are here. 8 pieces for just $4.99. It's finger-licking good.
Dan Le Batard.
Chris, what was happening there? Can you please just explain to me? Just give the audience a glimpse into what's happening inside your soul as your father is delivering clunker after clunker.
It's just not surprising. He was texting me last night trying to get lines for it to make it funnier, and I was just like, I don't know if this one works. You're not really bringing anything to the conversation. It's just classic Greg Cote.
Stugotz.
Actually, Christopher and I never had that conversation because I did reach out to him and got 0 response.
That's not true. I can show you my text right now. I wasn't a fan of it.
All right, show me that text.
There are the Cotes tag teaming the show to kill it. The Cotes as the crazy tag team duo, the Show Killers.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz.
I want to get to Chris Cote's trip to Germany, whatever it is he remembers of it. Was he on the...
I don't like this way this is being painted. I've been out with all of you. Yeah, everyone would be. Maybe outside of Billy, everyone would have been having a cocktail in Germany.
I've never been drunk at work.
When was I drunk?
That's not true.
Oh, no, that's not true.
And we all remember Dunk Le Batard.
And when was I drunk?
Correct.
At the Dolphins game as a fan? Yeah.
That was not drunk. I don't make phone calls without remembering them. Look at these photos.
That was at 1 a.m. at night. That was a personal phone call.
That was at
Look
the
at
game.
the picture that's up here that's at the game. You're clearly disoriented.
Okay.
Your eyes are closed from the edibles. The milligram count is clearly...
0 edible in that.
I thought that was Pat McAfee.
Shocking.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I think I just looked this way. Yes, I had some beers. That's like 5 beers over
Chris,
like 4 hours.
Your right eye...
This is such a ridiculous thing you guys are trying to do with
How
this.
big were the beers?
It's only 5
Normal.
beers in.
Over 4 hours. Over 4 hours, though, Billy.
He has no perspective.
You guys
They're
like,
the giant
that's
beers.
a lot. You guys are lame. You guys sound lame right now. Chris, you had a drink
all
at
right,
the beer.
look, okay.
Look at your eyes. I was
Okay.
just
Drink at the beer.
You have a drink at the work this morning?
Okay. This is not what I'm going to do with you as a 54-year-old man. I'm not going to try and either beer shame
I'm
you.
not 54.
I'm not going to try to be the guy who says you had too many beers or too few or says you were
Well, you're his
lame.
boss. You should be the guy.
Well, that's a different story. He's claiming he didn't do this at work. I do believe part of the Chris experience, if we're going to be free, is to send him out into the wild and see him drink, what are they, carafes?
At the game, I got drunk for sure, right there. I'm not saying I'm not drunk, but it's not like I'm hopped up on meth.
This is the part, though. I don't believe that you have an accurate depiction of what is a normal amount of beer drinking because you grew up next to a man who every night in the garage was drinking a dozen beers.
You don't know that.
So
That's
I
a
do
rumor.
know.
You don't know that.
You were there watching him.
Greg, I do know that because of how often I was there, marveling at your bladder, marveling at your stamina.
Those were the old days.
Marveling at how it is that you could do that and remain some semblance of fit.
Right. That was in the rat era.
Yeah.
When I was so distraught by having rats in my garage that I did, for a brief period of time, overindulge.
Understandable, yeah.
Chris, what I am saying, though, the place that I'm with Billy on this is, not only are you saying casually, I just had 5 beers. What you're not saying is the size of those beers in that country.
Normal sized. I mean, you want me to play it up here? I wasn't doing boots. They were just normal cups. I'm telling you, I wasn't that drunk here. I'm having fun. I'm trying to play it up for the camera.
Right.
They're doing 58 sing-alongs at this stadium, so am I not going to sing along?
That screenshot, I think, was on Sweet Caroline that I took.
Great song.
I mean, it's like you guys send me there, be Chris, and then I'm Chris, and you guys are like, can you believe Chris? He had a beer at the game. What a lunatic.
So, Greg, you were depressed because you had rats, so you just drink every night instead of addressing the rats?
Well, no, I addressed the rats, but what are you going to do? I'm not going to strangle it with my... I once saw a rat scurry right across the top of my garage door open. It was frightening to see.
Right.
And they were big Norwegian roof rats. I mean, they were just awful to look at. Thank God we're past that. We got an unnamed, exterminator come and really take care of it for us. And, it was the entry point into the roof, into the garage that was the problem. And even now... whenever I go up in my attic, I bang on the door to make sure that if there are rats, they scurry and they're not waiting to fall on me. So we're good. Yeah, we're good. And now, a 12th beer has never seen my lips on any given day, I'll tell you that.
You ever miss them?
The rats?
Yeah, I mean, because, while they're
beers.
a bit of
The beers, yes. No, I don't miss the rat.
a bit of a pest, but company nonetheless.
I would not wish a rat problem on anybody. I mean, they're filthy. They're terrible.
Misunderstood.
Are they?
I think.
Okay, you're the one person on earth who's like a positive PR guy for the rat.
Put it on the poll, please, Juju, at Batard Show. Is the rat misunderstood? Chris Cote, how did you feel about your Dolphin experience? You came in here today trying to make the argument that the Chargers are now a winning team, even though they're not a winning team. They're
not a losing team. They have a win against a not-losing team.
You came in here trying to argue with the country that the Dolphins have indeed now beaten a good team because of what the Chargers did last night against the Jets.
Can I ask you a question, Dan, as one of the few sane people here, which is like crazy? I feel like I was in Crazy Town this morning when everybody in the room was arguing that if the Chargers get over 500, the stat of the Dolphins haven't beat a team with a winning record no longer exists because they beat the Chargers.
I feel like we're getting bogged down on the records here. I think the narrative is
That's
more...
the whole stat.
No, the narrative, though, is bigger than the stats. The narrative is the Dolphins can't beat good teams, is the narrative.
Right.
And I think
it's accurate.
The Chargers, if they... win the rest of the argument
They're a
made
good
to you.
team,
If
right.
the Chargers win out the rest of the season, that will be a win against a good team.
But you don't revisit it and say that they've won against a team with a winning record.
Billy.
The record, you don't go back and retroactively say
You're getting bogged down in the records.
No, but Chris is right.
Is this a good team?
Yes, you do
I don't
that.
know yet.
You do that at the end of the regular season when you look back headed into the playoffs. What good teams have they beaten? If the Chargers are indeed over 500, then they've beaten a good team. I mean,
does it count if it was the first game of the season?
If I may, does it count? If I just may, because this is
literally how records work.
It's one of the dumber things I have seen conversationally. I will say to the audience something that seems obvious, which is beating good teams on the road in the NFL is difficult. They've played 3 of them, and it's Kansas City, and it's Philadelphia, and it's Buffalo.
And the Chargers, we won.
Those are those.
They didn't have to go to Arrowhead.
They won the one against the Chargers. They don't get credit for that because it was week 1, and because the Chargers until last night
and it's Los Angeles. It was mostly Dolphin fans there, anyways.
The Chargers are 4-4.
They're good enough to make it to the Super Bowl, Dan. They are.
The Chargers.
Yes.
I mean, there are a lot of good teams in the AFC right now. The Chargers look like they're not one of them compared to the other 7 teams in the AFC that have good records. But the thing that I find funniest about this, and also most interesting, is this is the first generation of Dolphin fans who grew up on what that heat shit was from LeBron and Fight the Country on stuff. And so you finally got a football team that matters enough for the country to doubt it, and you want to fight with everybody.
Dominique just called them a pretender on Get Up.
This is where we are.
He's been a supporter of the Dolphins.
I love that.
Oh, that's so disappointing.
We lost Dominique.
He's doing a thing.
They have beaten I said yesterday, Baltimore lost to the Colts. The Dolphins have beaten the 6 teams they were supposed to beat and lost to 3 teams that you understand how those losses happen.
The Eagles lost to the Jets.
So you're penalizing them for being 6-0 against the teams that were on the schedule, the teams that they had to play, and a lot of people are doing that and are going to continue to do that with the Dolphins because the 3 times that they have played good defenses on the road, the offense has actually been stymied. And if you can stymie the Dolphin offense, then they are pretenders. Like if that's something that's going to keep happening, then they are frauds. But I would not do that based on what it is that I've seen. They were no less good at offense than Kansas City was. That game was decided by a lateral. That could have gone the other way for the Dolphins, and I wouldn't doubt the Chiefs either.
Yeah, but it didn't go the other way. And I know 3 games is a small sample, but they've played 3 games against teams that consider themselves to be Super Bowl contenders: Buffalo, Philly, and KC.
Chargers.
They're 0-3. No, I do not include the Chargers. I include 3 teams that they've played good.
They beat the Lions and the Steelers last year, who finished with winning records.
Yeah, last year.
So why is any of this relevant? They've beat a winning team since 2020, apparently.
Look, Mike McDaniel himself said this. If you want the narrative to change the narrative. The way you change it is to beat a good team. You're not allowed to call yourself a very good team, quote unquote, unless you beat a very good team. That's axiomatic. That's accurate throughout the NFL. You're not a very good team if you don't beat a very good team. They can be very good. Their offense can be excellent.
They're going to be 11-3 or something. Favored to be 11.
The schedule is so easy.
Favored to be 11-3 without having beaten a good team.
Correct.
We do so little factoring of the schedule. The Bengals' schedule is about to get so hard. Like they may be indeed what they've been over the last month.
Thankfully,
they seem to
back.
be. Yes. They seem to be. Mm-hmm. But their schedule is it's rough. It's a slalom course. The Dolphin schedule.
The Dolphin schedule is easy. The Chiefs schedule is difficult. Like I would feel better saying today that the Dolphins would be the number 1 seed in the AFC than the Chiefs just based on the schedule. Seriously. Like the schedule's so easy for the Dolphins coming up.
Yeah, they're number 4 right now. And don't forget Jacksonville, which is pretty good.
Yep.
Baltimore might be the best team in the conference right now. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, Miami, they're still a Super Bowl contender. Don't get me wrong.
Did you have a homerism seizure? Did you have did it get shaky? Did your homerism get shaky this weekend?
No,
You have pivoted. You've pivoted to haven't beaten a good team.
That's what I wrote in my column.
I know. I'm just saying, though, you have been the guy.
Okay,
but that's a
here's the thing.
fact.
Here's the thing. This is why I love the NFL, is because every game is so important. Every game has the power to change the narrative and how you're looking at this season. If they go to Germany and they beat the reigning champion Chiefs, then everything changes. Then nobody's talking about how they lost those 2 other games. Everybody's talking about, all right, they just beat a really good team, which makes them a really good team.
What was the best unit in that game? Like defense, like the offense. Let's forget special teams. Offense, defense for both teams. What was the best unit on Sunday in that game?
You could argue that the 2 defenses.
The Dolphins. You could argue the Dolphins defense. I think the Dolphins defense
the
is
Chiefs
getting
defense. I think.
Can I just make the argument on behalf of how bad this analysis is when we change the stories from game to game? They had the terrible snap on 4th and 10. But if for some reason I had made that a Tyreek Hill completion and then McDaniel goes for 2 and they win.
2 big ifs.
They're not any better, though, is what I'm saying. They're not actually any better because they made 2 plays at the end of that game, and you're like, oh, now I think they can beat good teams because they made 1 play on 4th and 10.
Okay, deal with reality. That's the reality that we deal with in the NFL every week.
But I'm saying
either win or you lose.
No, but your analysis, it doesn't need to be just that. It can be something beyond you either just win or lose. It can be. It's allowed to be.
Right. It is.
The team's not. You can't make the argument that they'd be any better actually if they'd made one play at the end of that game and then gone for two.
That's axiomatic.